The Duval Rundown, driven by Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, home of the lifetime warranty.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Duval Rundown. I'm Hayes Carline. Please be joined as always on Wednesday with Florida Times Union sports columnist Ryan O'Halloran. Ryan, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Hayes. Thanks. It feels like this game was like a week ago, but it does merit some reviewing. And I think you're running into a key game on Sunday for the Jaguars over in London.
Yeah, without a doubt. And just as a heads up, Ryan's going to be joining the Frangie Show all week next week as Frank is coming back from London and then taking the week. So looking forward to that.
One rule, no rules.
That's right. It'll be a lot of fun. But before we get to that, I just to give us a quick recap, because I sort of agree with you. I mean, we've certainly talked a lot about the loss to Seattle, but just what were some things that you think were just isolated to that one game, whether it was just a bad matchup, or what are some things that you think are now trending in the wrong way for the Jaguars?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of things. One on offense was you can't – they have played so well up front all season that you're due for a bad game. That's life in the NFL. You just have to make sure those bad games aren't total debacles like they were for the Jaguars on Sunday, and that's what it was. And then on defenses, you give up 2 61-yard passes, you can't expect to win, and they didn't win. So the other thing on defense, we can get to this, is they got to be able to rush the passer better. They have 8 sacks in 6 games. Somehow they're 4-2 because of the takeaways. So when you don't get a takeaway and you're not rushing the passer, you're not going to win.
Yeah, and let's just go ahead and start with that as we start to look forward to the Rams game Sunday. I mean, Stafford is a guy that doesn't move much. I mean, he's obviously older now. He's one of the older starting quarterbacks in the league, but still highly effective. As I look at it, I mean, it's a bad deal if Eric Armstead is leading you in sacks. I mean, that's just not who he has been as a player. I think he's had basically 1 year in his career where he was a double-digit sack guy. Josh Hines-Allen has a half a sack so far through 6 games. Now, that's, again, he's getting pressures, but going into this matchup, if you're Liam Cohen and Anthony Campanile, how do you try to get Stafford on the ground?
I mean, I would adopt the plan that Campanile had at the end of the Seattle game, which is sending pressure. According to this pencil, and by no means am I a pro football focus guy. I'm not the gospel like they are. He rushed 4 or fewer on 20 of Sam Darnold's first 22 dropbacks. He was rushing 4, dropping 7. 5 of the last 6 dropbacks he blitzed with success. So I think that's what they have to have. I think they have to have more of a balance. And also, you mentioned Josh Hines-Allen. Those pressure numbers are going down. He's got it. I think they got to scheme up some things for Josh to get him going, because he's too good of a player on paper to have just a half a sack nearly 2 months into the season.
That's the thing, and that number is going to correct itself. He's not going to finish the year if he plays all 17 games. He's not going to finish the year with 3 sacks. But yeah, how can they help him in putting him in a better position? I think it's going to be really interesting to see, because, I mean, again, this is a tough assignment in terms of that. I mean, the Rams are, when you look at their numbers, I mean, they're 10th in the league in sacks allowed percentage, so they're pretty good at protecting Stafford. They're, not phenomenal, but they're pretty good with it. But they're just so efficient. I mean, we'll see about Puka Nacua whether he's able to play, but boy, you just can't count on holding down McVay offense for an entire 60 minutes. So it's going to be quite a challenge.
And one thing, if I had to nit to pick with Andy Campanile, I think he's dropping Josh Hines-Allen in the zone coverage too often. I get the simulated pressures. Make them guess where your 4 guys are coming from, but maybe do that when another defensive end is in the game. And also, maybe do you explore moving Hines-Allen inside on a snap or 2 on a 3rd down? Maybe put him in a stand-up position, have him rush that way. Because, just because you have Trayvon Walker back, he's not at full strength. He's playing with one hand. And so you're not going to get him back fully go until after the bye. So I think it's they had a long flight to think about it, and maybe it's time that to come up with some more solutions, because you can't live on takeaways in this league. The Jaguars managed to do it during their 4-1 start. Now you can expect a return to norm.
And really, to be honest, the defense isn't even the top of my concerns. This is a big challenge, obviously, going against the Rams. But let's flip it to what I think some more concerning element of this team. Why can't they block anybody now?
Yeah.
Was that just Seattle being great?
I mean, they didn't run it great against Kansas City, I don't think.
No. They've dropped to 11th in rushing. They were top 4, I think, going into Monday night against the Chiefs. They dropped from like 4 to 5. And now after Sunday's, like you said, offensive debacle, they're now 11th.
Yeah, it's Liam Cohn said Monday that maybe he got away from the run too early. I had no problem with him getting away from the run too early, because they're running into a brick wall. Their screen game is come and gone this season. I think offensively right now is, if you're an opposing defense, you're not really worried about anybody on the perimeter. You're not worried about Brian Thomas. You're not worried about Travis Hunter. Brenton Strange is probably, he was your leading receiver. He's out for another month. So that's what Cohn and his staff has to figure out this week is, okay, who can make a big play down the field? Is it Travis Hunter? Because Travis Hunter's big plays, he had the one against San Francisco and the one against Kansas City. His other plays where he's showed some playmaking ability have been short passes that he's forced to miss tackle and got up the field. If we want to have a Brian Thomas discussion.
Yeah, where are we with Brian Thomas Jr.? I mean, I don't see receivers in the league that short arm balls like he does.
Yeah. And this one was a lot worse than the one in Cincinnati. There was nowhere near him. Feign the effort to attack the football. I asked Liam Cohn about that on Monday. I say, hey, you got the full Brian Thomas experience on Sunday. A couple of great plays, and then the play over the middle, then the key third down drop, where I don't think he even had to jump for the ball. But I think he was figuring if he's in the air, he'll take less of a hit. And, Cohn was like, he knows he has to make that play. I have full confidence in him. That's what I expected Liam to say. I don't know why they would have any confidence in Brian Thomas at this point. If you had to look at one of the great disappointments in the whole league through 6 weeks, I think Thomas would be there. And I'm sure behind the scenes, they are trying everything to get this kid going, to return to the form of his first year. But they're in trouble with their passing game right now.
Without a doubt. And, I think I don't know how anybody couldn't be anything but concerned about Brian Thomas Jr. It'd be one thing if he was making electrifying play after electrifying play. And then, obviously these guys are going to make mistakes. To me, it's the lack of toughness that he shows that I think it just permeates to the whole team. It's just such a morale killer when you see what's supposed to be one of your best players not giving full effort on a play.
Yeah, I mean, I blame Trevor Lawrence for a lot of things this year. I can't blame him for what the Brian Thomas stuff is. And so, I look at the receiver. Okay, what is Edgar Bennett saying to him? Is he getting through to him? What is Liam Cohn saying? Is Tony Baselli and James Gladstone trying to talk to Thomas? I don't see a player right now you can rely on. De'Ami Brown, what's he going to do?
He's a guy.
Yeah, he's a guy. Travis Hunter, he's too busy splitting his time to be a real factor on either side of the ball. So it's in Brenton Strange. He's out with the hip flexor, and hey, let's face it, that could be more than 4 games. So you can't count on him coming back anytime soon. So and so they have no choice but to stick with Thomas. But one thing I may write later this week is, why is he playing 85% of snaps? Maybe you take some of his snaps away. Send him a message saying, "Hey, what you're doing out there is not good enough."
Without a doubt, and I think it's very fair to wonder where is the passing game going to come from, because it just doesn't seem like you have anything that you can really hang your hat on right now. I think the Brenton Strange loss was a huge loss for them, and I think it showed up immediately in the passing game and also in the ground attack. What did you make of? Obviously, they didn't have Hainsey against the Seahawks. and not to put it, I mean, Monheim, it was a failure across the board, particularly at left and right tackle. But how much of a factor do you think not having Robert Hainsey, since they might have him Sunday, how much of a difference can that make?
Well, I thought Monheim, he didn't give up a lot. He gave up a couple pressures, but it's also the communication. And Kansas City got him on some stunts and twists. Is he going to answer the bell and rebound this week? Anton Harrison probably had his first stinker of the season, 2 penalties and some other stuff. So how is he going to respond? But I think what you have to do is I think you have to consider more max protection, which is a 7-man. 6-man doesn't count. That's a running back. Do you throw an extra? Do you play more 12 personnel? Have 2 tight ends in protection? That'll allow you to dial up some stuff downfield, or it may just allow you to throw a 15-yard out. I mean, Trevor Lawrence didn't have a lot of time on a lot of these sacks, so getting Hainsey back obviously will be important. But I think you need better play out of Cleveland. You need better play out a little on that left side because the quarterback was under siege against Seattle. Now you're going against the guy, Hayes, you mentioned this on Sunday, Jared Verse, the former Florida State 1-year player. This guy's a force.
He's an animal. I mean, what he might do to Walker Little on Sunday is I'm not sure if they have cruel and unusual laws in the UK, but we need to check that because it's going to be a gargantuan. And look, he's not even there. They've got another guy young with 7.5 sacks.
Yeah, the cruel and unusual punishment in London is you have to eat the food. Speaking from experience, but
yes.
One thing Cohen mentioned on Monday is, hey, if they're doing the stunts and twist, you can't chip. Well, that means you keep an extra guy in.
Yeah.
So now he understood what went wrong. Now it's time for them to adjust. I think they'll pass protect better. You got to think it's going to be that breadth of errors is a one game example. You would hope if you're a Jaguar fan, but also you try and get the ball out of Lawrence's hand a little quicker and not by tunnels. Some quick slants over the middle. Brian Thomas, you're gonna have to go over the middle. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Do you get Travis?
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. Maybe I would. Have you seen Travis Hunter run a deep post? Have you seen Travis Hunter work the middle of the field at all? Maybe
his last deep target that I recall, I deep target. He had the 3rd down conversion in San Francisco. That was a nice, pretty lengthy gain. But in terms of like a quote bomb, the only one I remember is the one Trevor underthrew for the pick against the Panthers.
Mm-hmm. And he had that acrobatic catch against the Chiefs, but that was like
true. Yeah.
20 yards. But that was that wasn't a planned play. It was
right.
He threw it up. So in the San Francisco game, that was the middle of the field. They got between the 2 safeties. So this is if you're an offensive play caller, this is a game of week-to-week adjustments. Who's my personnel? Are the people playing well? And how do I mask the weaknesses of my group right now? Which this team has a couple of them.
Without a doubt. Jacob Simons is the brains behind Duval Rundown. Jacob, we certainly appreciate it. Let's say hello to our sponsor.
I'm Rick Ballou, Jacksonville Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Westside, proud partner of the Jaguars. Drive with confidence. Every new vehicle comes with our exclusive lifetime warranty. 7030 Commonwealth Avenue or online at jackswest.com.
So let's take a look at another injury that, this was peculiar because the Jaguars never offered an update in game on Devin Lloyd. So we had no idea whether he'd been benched or whether he was injured. And, we obviously cover the league. Their injury, Devin Lloyd, questionable with a calf. Devin Lloyd out with a calf, whatever. Never got any of that on Sunday, which was really bizarre. But we have learned that Devin Lloyd did not fly over to London when the team left Monday. So he is out. Obviously, that's a big loss. But how do you think they will go about scheming around not having Devin Lloyd? Ventrell Miller will obviously fill in to some extent, but he can be a liability in coverage. So how do you think Anthony Campanile will deploy his guys not having Devin Lloyd available?
Yeah, he'll just play a lot of dime. with Antonio Johnson being that third safety. You get Greg Newsome an extra 3 practices to get him more up to speed. Maybe you try to mix it up a little bit. Do you play 4 corners and 2 safeties and get Monteric Brown as out there as well? So that would be my initial lean. I mean, Miller is a physical player in the run game, but if you ask him to do a lot of stuff in space, he'll be exposed. That's why Devin Lloyd is the starter. And the Devin Lloyd thing is interesting. I'm not going to regale people with the mechanics of the injury reporting because it's inside baseball. But, one thing we've learned, Hayes, is calves do not go away. And, that's why they are being precautious. Left him home this week. Smart decision. Now you get the bye. Because if you come back too soon from a calf injury and pop it again, now you're 6 weeks. So this
we're out of the year.
Yeah, so this is a concern if you're the Jaguar defense because he's one of the best players in football on defense through the first 5 weeks. So it's up to Campanile to make do, but I think it will be more dime.
What do you make of the logistics of this game from a travel standpoint? 2 teams doing it polar opposite ways. The Jaguars, obviously, as we said, flew out Monday, so they'll have basically all day Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday before the game. So basically a full week in London before playing the Rams. Los Angeles, meanwhile, they played the Ravens in Baltimore Sunday. They elected to stay in Baltimore for the week to practice there, and then they're flying Friday.
I think they're getting there Friday morning. I'm not sure, or is it?
I've heard they're flying Friday, landing Saturday morning, which just seems really inexplicable.
Yeah, it is.
So, but obviously this is a smart organization, but it is striking the 2 different paths that the teams are taking to this game. Do you think it plays a role at all in the outcome?
Well, I think we're going to find out in the first quarter because 2 years ago, the Jaguars played the Bills at Tottenham, and the Jaguars had already played a game, so they're settled in the whole week. The Bills landed Friday morning because, like every team, they think that and reinvents the wheel. By the time the Bills woke up, it was too late. And Sean McDermott said after the game, "Hey, if we come over here again, we got to look at what we're doing." As far as the Rams, I mean, they're practicing at Camden Yards this week. They're lining the outfield with like a 40-yard field. So it's unorthodox. It's a couple of years ago, the Rams practiced at UNF before they went over to London. So some teams just want to get in, play the game, get on the plane, get the hell out of there. So we'll find out pretty quickly whether that strategy works for the Rams.
And before we get to kind of how you feel like the game will play out, give us an idea of what's coming up in the Times Union and on Jacksonville.com this week.
Yeah, a couple things. One, it's online right now. I'll tweet it out after the show. Is sort of a college football coaching carousel. There are already 8 FBS jobs open. It could be a 9th here locally if the Florida Gators can't beat Mississippi State. So I'd have
and they can't.
14 thoughts on the coaching carousel. And then for Friday, I asked Liam Cohen on Monday, I said, when you started working for Sean McVay in 2018, what was a project that he gave you that said, hey, I'm really going to learn from this guy? And Liam gave this long answer about he had to drop the plays for practice. So get into that relationship a little bit for Friday.
Yeah, that was a great question and a great response. You did the Rams beat writers a big favor because I've seen all of them, basically using it.
Great.
What's that?
Great.
Yeah. So it was really interesting hearing Liam talk about that. And then, he talked about the gentleman that's doing it now for him here, Tyler
Middleton.
Yes. And that was really cool to get that backstory. Do you think that plays a role in any of this? The whole Gladstone and Cohen strong ties to the Rams, does that in any way make it, add any intrigue to? Well, it adds intrigue, but does it matter in terms of the winning or losing of this game? Obviously, it's personal for the Jaguars, not in a bad way, but
yeah,
because of their ties, or is it all a wash?
The one thing I would like if I was behind the scenes this week is the tendency when you're facing your old boss is to overthink it. And well, he's going to know what this formation looks like. We got to throw something in the new. No, you're week 7. Run your stuff. If the Rams are better on defense, they're going to beat you. So as you pointed out, it's not an animosity thing because these guys left on their own accord for better jobs. But if the Jaguars happen to win the game, I think they'll have a little bit more pep on their step as they're getting on that plane.
If they win the game, what does that mean for the Jaguars?
Well, at 5-2 with the schedule coming up, and one thing we talked about since the middle of August with off the air is, hey, just get to Thanksgiving. That you're in the meat of your schedule right now, and if you can go into the bye with a win at San Francisco, a win over Kansas City, and a win over the Rams, you should be feeling pretty good about the state of your program. And you said it on the radio yesterday, the Colts are coming back to the pack. I mean, to their credit, they have feasted on the schedule presented to them, but they're getting ready to start punching up in class. If the Jags are at 5-2 going into the bye, they should be thinking division title. If they lose, and I'm going to pick the Rams, you're 4-3. That makes the Las Vegas game critical. By no means at 4-3 are you out of it, but your margin for error has narrowed a little bit, and it's going to be a long 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like the Rams as well. I just think that they just have more. And again, we'll see about Puka Nacua. I'm assuming they're going to win even without Puka Nacua. But I just think Stafford is so good. They still have Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams. They're going to be balanced offensively. I do think McVay will have something special for again, not from an animosity standpoint. Just you're going against a good friend, and obviously you want to play well. You want to have some things to throw them off. And defensively, I think not having Devin Lloyd, my guess is the Rams will be able to score into the mid to high 20s. And it's just hard to trust this Jaguar offense right now to get there. And I can't see the Rams turning the ball over 3 or 4 times. They're not as good as the Jaguars. The Jaguars are still tied for first in turnover margin at +8. But the Rams aren't bad. The Rams are tied for 9th at +3. So they usually win the turnover battle, or it's a draw. Yeah. But we'll see. But I'm with you. I almost think that if the Jaguars win Sunday, you can start thinking playoffs. I mean, because you've got 5 games after this game that you're going to be a sizable favorite in. You've got 2 against the Titans, a game against the Cardinals, a game against the Jets, and a game against the Raiders. And so you'd like to think you've got a really strong chance of winning those 5. Well, now you're at 10 wins, and that's if you don't win any of your 50-50 games the rest of the year. I don't think the Colts are going to sweep the Jaguars. That'll be a split. Anyway, it starts. I don't think a loss really hurts them. I think a win is like triple what a win would normally be. Yeah, and when the teams look somewhat even, who's the better quarterback? Who has a better pass rush? Rams. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, great stuff, Ryan. We certainly appreciate it. We'll look forward to all your great coverage at Jacksonville.com, and obviously follow Ryan if you aren't already on X and Twitter and all social channels. And we will be back next Wednesday, but I'll look forward to joining you Monday on the Frangie Show.
Looking forward to it, Hayes. Appreciate it now.
All righty, take care. Thanks for watching Duval Rundown. We'll be back Friday with Rick Ballou. Until then, enjoy your day, Jaguar fans. Take care. Thanks for watching.